The son was very happy today. After 20 years, he was finally meeting his college friends. It was in 1999 when Suraj went to Indore to complete his schooling and do his graduation. His parents returned after getting him admission in the first year of BSc in a good college there. He had rented a small room in a simple pucca house. I also bought a bicycle to and from college. At that time, the financial condition of Suraj's family was not very good. That was enough for him at the time. In college, Suraj became good friends with some local boys. He was also fast in reading and writing and always fully supported Suraj. Suraj could not even understand how a year had passed in studies and fun with him. But by the time the son neared, his father's health had deteriorated severely. They couldn't focus on their business. After the examination, Suraj was forced to return to his hometown where he took admission in the second year of BSc in a local college and also took care of his father's business. He kept in touch with his friends in Indore on the phone. But the busyness of life never gave him a chance to meet them again. Now, after 20 years, Suraj had come to Indore to meet his friends. His best friend, Suresh, had organized a reunion ceremony for the old students at his college. The next day, his close friends Mohan, Sachin and Vishal also gathered at Suresh's house. After breakfast and tea, everyone was talking. There was also a mention of the neighbors of the son at that time, who were very superstitious and also very timid. The house in which Suraj lived in Indore was mostly inhabited by less educated people from the village. The house was built for rent. All of Suraj's friends always advised him to stay in another good place, but he was not in Suraj's budget. There were some well-to-do families in the neighborhood who had very good houses, but they all had some dispute with Suraj's landlord. 2 or 3 times a month, around the house in which Suraj lived, sometimes lemon chili and sometimes some other sorcery material was lying around. Except for Suraj, all the people in that house were always worried about ghosts and fear of any evil. Suraj's landlord always cursed his locality for this. Many times there was a dispute between them. But the son did not believe all these things. He tried hard to convince his neighbors, but it was all in vain. Suresh and the rest of the friends start making fun of Suraj's neighbors. Objecting to this, Suraj said, "Yar, who were the people who were very good at heart? As much as I missed you, I missed them too. I never had any problem with them. I don't know where they are now. I went to meet him there before I came here today. But none of them live there anymore." On this, Suresh put his hand on Suraj's shoulder and said, "Hey man, why are you being so sentient? When did we say they were bad people? But they were superstitious people of very old fashion. He was always afraid of any sorcery. You told us all these things yourself. Tell me, was there anything that happened while you were there that you could associate with ghosts?" With a deep sigh, Suraj said in a serious tone, "Yes man, there was a very strange incident that I had never told anyone about. Not even you guys." Everyone was stunned to hear this. Sachin looked at the son in surprise and said, "What was the thing that you hid from us?" "That too for so many years," said Suraj, looking at Sachin calmly. "That was the case, man. I was very scared and a little worried whether to tell anyone about it or not. I thought everyone in college would make fun of me. Anyway, no such incident happened after that. So I didn't tell anyone." On this answer of Suraj, Vishal eagerly said, "Brother, tell me what happened." With the same serious countenance, Suraj began to say, "That was after Deepawali. That day too, after returning from college, finishing homework, preparing and eating, I went to bed at around 11:30 p.m. after studying at night. I had a very good sleep. But after a while, it felt like a huge weight was placed on my chest, like a big sack full of sand. I felt suffocated. I sat up nervously. My breathing was very fast. When I turned on the lights, it was 1:30. For the first time in that room, I felt something strange. There was a strange heaviness in the atmosphere. It looked very suffocating. But I thought maybe it's too tired today, so it looks like it. I fell asleep again. As soon as I fell asleep, I felt as if a very heavy weight had been placed on me and I started suffocating. I got up again in a panic. I quickly turned on the light. This time I felt a little scared and my heart rate increased. This had never happened to me before. I wondered. I didn't have any bad dreams that night. Suddenly, my neighbor's sorcery and ghosts flashed through my mind. But then I thought that maybe my health is getting worse and it is my mind. But my mind and heart were not ready to believe it. I was perfectly fine and I had nothing like cold or fever. Suraj stopped and drank some water. What happened after that? Mohan asked. Then, in the same serious tone, Suraj began to say, "This time I did not turn off the light. I wanted to understand what it was all about. But the same thing happened to me as soon as I fell asleep. This time I was very nervous. Now I began to believe that this was not an illusion in my mind. But there was no scary face or ghost-like figure in the room. I wanted to leave the room and ask my neighbors for help, but my mind was not allowing it. Firstly, those people are superstitious anyway. They do not know what they will understand. Secondly, I felt that they would make fun of me, because I often used to explain to them that all this is a matter of their mind. When I looked at the clock, it was 1:45. I thought of opening the window, but there was a voice from inside my heart that do not open the window. Then I thought that I should open the door and walk around on the terrace, but then as if a strong voice from inside my heart was telling me to go out and open the door. You may think of it as the voice of the heart, the voice of the conscience, or the sixth sense, whatever. But something inside me was telling me that there is a big danger here today and I should not sleep under any circumstances. I was very scared. It had rarely happened to me before that something inside me had given me any sign of danger. But whenever it happened, it proved to be right. I was awake for a while, but I didn't know when I fell asleep. Then there was a feeling of suffocation and a very heavy weight on the chest. I couldn't see anything when I opened my eyes, but I was suffocating. This time I pushed something off of me that I couldn't see. I let out a scream. I screamed, "Who's here? If you have courage, come forward." But I didn't get any answer to my question. Saying this, Suraj became silent as if all those events had come alive in front of his eyes. There was seriousness on everyone's face. Mohan was sweating. "Oh my God," came out of his mouth suddenly. "And you kept it hidden from us too," Suresh said to Suraj, with some annoyance. "Hey man, first listen to his whole story," Sachin interrupted Suresh. "Tell me further, Suraj, what happened after that?" I didn't know what to do. I couldn't leave the room. No invisible force inside the room was allowing me to sleep. I couldn't open the window or door. I wanted to drink water or make some tea and drink it. But then something inside me was telling me to do it. She was telling me that after drinking tea and water, there can be a situation of small doubt and it is not free from danger to get out of the room right now. Then what shall I do? There's danger inside the room, too. I asked the voice coming from inside me. The only voice from my heart was, "Just stay awake. Don't sleep." I picked up the physics book from the table and sat on the bed reading. But I didn't feel like reading even a little. Then I didn't know when I fell asleep and then the same invisible thing came and sat on my chest and I started suffocating. Then I pushed him away from me and I shouted loudly, "Your brother-in-law. If you have courage, come forward." I picked up a wooden stick lying by the bed and started moving it wildly across the room hoping that it might be hit by that invisible force. But nothing happened. In anger, I checked all my belongings and bedding. I checked my briefcase and utensils, but there was nothing anywhere. Suresh and Sachin laughed when they heard Suraj's words, while Mohan was still serious. Then Suraj also laughed a little and said, "So what else would I do?" Sleep had completely escaped from my eyes. I was so scared. It was 4 o'clock at that time. I didn't know what to do. For the first time, I saw a poster of Lord Vishnu in my room. I used to perform arti for him every day. I got angry that even those whom I worship every day are not helping me. After all, how can a ghost-like thing come here while there is a picture of God? But then a voice came from inside me that at the time of any serious danger, you hear this voice from your heart, that is God's help for you. But now I was starting to get annoyed. If I stay awake all night, how will I be able to cook food in the morning and go to college? I thought I should wake up Ram Singh Bhai Saheb, the neighbor right next to my room. They were the best of my neighbors. There was a door between me and his room, which we both kept locked on our sides and had also put curtains. But my mind was not agreeing with this. You may remember that at that time I wanted to join the army. I told this to all my neighbors. I thought they might start making fun of me about how such a timid boy would go to the army. But the same voice inside me was saying that I should wake them up and tell them the whole thing. I knocked on that door between us and called him several times, but there was no response from that side. I sat down on the bed disappointed. Then for the first time it occurred to me that no one has probably woken up tonight to do Lagashanka. Ever since I was living there, it had never happened that the sound of the toilet door and hand pump did not come 2 or 3 times at night. The toilet, bathroom and hand pump of that house are right next to my room. He was on the left side of the courtyard. Then I felt that perhaps whatever invisible force is troubling me, it must be haunting my neighbors too. That's why today no one is going out of fear. I was terribly anxious about what to do now. Suddenly I remembered that ghosts are afraid of Hanuman Ji. I memorized the Hanuman Chalisa completely. Then I sat on the bed and started reciting Hanuman Chalisa in my mind. After a while, I looked at the clock and it was 4:45. I fell asleep fast and fell asleep again. Then there was the same weight on the chest and the feeling of suffocation. I sat up again nervously, pushing the invisible force. Then I started swinging the same baton all over the room, but in vain. I sat down on the bed exhausted. Now I was very thirsty and had a headache. I thought I'd take Disprin and drink water. But then the voice inside me stopped me from doing it. I chuckled and asked him what else to do. Then a voice came from my heart that wake up a little longer. The effect of this power will end at 5:40 in the morning. Then go to sleep. When I looked at the clock, it was 4:45. Then I spent that much time reading Hanuman Chalisa. At exactly 5:40, the heaviness of the room suddenly disappeared. The room suddenly felt as if it was filled with fresh air. That suffocating atmosphere was over. I drank Disprin dissolved in water and went to sleep. Then I slept very well. Suraj breathed a sigh of relief as he remembered that night. Mohan looked at the sun in surprise and said, "Man, I shuddered just to hear you. I don't know how you spent that night. If I were in your place, I would have shouted, 'Save, save.'" "Well, what happened in the morning?" Suraj started smiling slightly. "And what was to happen? I woke up at 9:30 in the morning. I left the room and sat in the courtyard. I saw that all my neighbors were also sitting there yawning. All my neighbors often left for work by 7 o'clock in the morning before I got up. Seeing them in this condition, I felt right that the invisible force might have tormented them too. But I didn't ask anyone anything. Ram Singh Bhai Saheb, who was next to me, was looking at me with strange eyes. Then his wife Manjud Ji said to me, "The night is very bad, the sun." Believe it or not, there was something that kept us from sleeping at night. Someone must have done the trick. We went to bed at 6 o'clock in the morning. Listening to him made my mind chuckle. I said angrily, "That thing didn't let me sleep at night. I only know how the night went. I had called you guys and knocked on the door. but you guys didn't respond. In reply, Ram Singh Baisaheb said, "You were abusing you in the night, and the sound of some upheaval was also coming from your room. We thought that ghost had entered you. We were so scared we didn't open the door." I was very angry at their stupidity. I snapped, "Nothing like that happened." I was checking my baggage. I was also feeling very scared. There were two of you, but I was alone. If you had opened the door, at least we would have been scared together. Everyone laughed at that. I laughed too. Then the rest of my neighbors confirmed that the same thing happened to them at night. Vinod Baisaheb, who lives on the other side of Rambia, said that he had woken up at 8 o'clock in the morning and he had seen some tantra-mantra items, flower garlands and bones of an animal near the main door of the house, which he had picked up from the cleaning buy and put it in his car. He also went and told this to our landlord, who immediately came and abused the people next to us. We talked about this issue for a while and we came to the conclusion that everyone should put a photo of Bajrang Bali in their respective rooms. On the same evening, I took a poster of Hanuman Ji from the market and put it in my room. Nothing like this ever happened again after that. That is why I did not mention this incident to you at that time. There was silence for a while. Everyone was in thought. Then Suraj said, "I don't understand what that night would have been. But you had to tell us that. Why did you think that we would not believe you?" To this, Suraj explained, "Brother, by that time my father's health had deteriorated. I was already upset. I was very frightened by this incident. I didn't want anyone in college to know about it. You may not make fun of me, but what about the others? So I didn't tell anyone anything. I didn't even tell you in my house. Everyone there was already upset." Then Vishal smiled and said to Suresh, "Leave it, man. Now he has told me, has he not? Now one tea and a drink each. Our brother is safe, that's the big thing for us." Suresh too, "Okay brother," smiled and nodded in agreement. The next day Suraj returned to his house. But that one scary night made the meeting even more memorable for his friends after 20 years.